Quick thing before I get into this is a grassroots campaign and these deep dives take real time. If you value this kind of transparency, I'd really appreciate your support, and you can donate at ComptonForCommissioner.com. Okay, item 13. The agenda just dropped, and this one caught my eye right away. I wanted to talk about it though while it's still fresh, because once you actually read it, really read it, you realize the details. Well, that's where the devil always lives, isn't it? So I poured a cup of tea. This is like my third. And I sat down with all of the documents, all of them. And I want to walk through what this actually changes, because when you lay the numbers next to each other, it stops being abstract really, really fast. This item amends the city manager's contract. It changes the contract length, salary, allowances, severance, and adds benefits that weren't there before. It's not one tweak. It's a bundle. Some of what's in here comes straight from the grand jury recommendations, and that part makes sense. One thing the grand jury was clear about was that the city didn't have a written process for what happens if a charter officer is arrested. Not convicted, just arrested. So this amendment adds language allowing the mayor to temporarily suspend the city manager with pay while the commission holds a hearing. Pretty standard stuff. It's about due process, not improvising under pressure, and I don't have an issue with that part. Where things start to get a little sticky is everything else that is bundled in with that fix. Right now, the city manager's contract is a 2-year deal, and this amendment turns it into 4 years and then adds an automatic 4-year renewals unless 4 months notice is given. So the default becomes longer and longer terms. At the same time, severance increases from 15 weeks to 20 weeks, and that higher severance carries through the extended term. So the contract gets longer and way more expensive to unwind at the same time. Then there's the salary. The current base salary is $215,000. This amendment raises it to $295,000. That's an $80,000 increase in base salary alone before allowances, benefits, or anything else. And let's keep in mind that the last city manager made $215,000 in his base salary, and he had decades of experience. All right, now let's go through those allowances. The vehicle allowance goes from $500 a month to $950 a month. That's an extra $450 a month, or about $5,400 a year just for his vehicle, his own vehicle. On top of that, there's a brand new $500 per month expense stipend that didn't exist before. Automatic. That's another $6,000 a year. There's also an education benefit added where the city pays or reimburses tuition for public administration programs. If the city manager leaves voluntarily within 2 years, that gets reimbursed. If the city terminates the agreement, it doesn't. Now, when the city pays someone, it's not just the salary and allowances that cost us money. The city also pays the employer side of federal payroll taxes. The city pays health insurance. When you add everything together, salary, allowances, benefits, payroll taxes, insurance, the actual cost to the city lands somewhere between $335,000 and $350,000 a year. That's the fully wrapped number. For a city our size, that's bonkers. Because when you look at other Florida cities, most city managers in comparable or even larger cities land much lower than this. Take St. Augustine. Similar tourism pressure, historic district complexity. Their city manager's base salary is typically in the low to mid 200,000s. And even fully loaded, it comes in well below what's being proposed here. Delray Beach, significantly larger population than Key West, generally pays in the low $200,000 range, not pushing $300,000. Fort Pierce, again, larger than Key West, pays substantially less than this package, even when you include everything. Even cities with 50,000 to 100,000 residents often land somewhere between $180,000 and $240,000 when you look at total compensation. You usually don't see compensation north of $350,000 a year unless you're talking about major metros or large counties, places with hundreds of thousands of residents and vastly larger budgets. Key West has about 25,000 full-time residents, and quite a few of those are here about half the year. So this package doesn't just put us at the high end, it puts us in a completely different bracket. This isn't about whether someone deserves to be paid well. City management is a hard job. It's complex. I get it. But timing is part of the picture, financially and structurally. Yes, we're heading into an August election that could change the makeup of the commission. That's just the calendar. But there's another layer that's already on the city's radar. In our recent strategic planning meeting, revenue came up as one of the city's top issues. Very plainly, city leadership acknowledged that we're heading into a period where we're going to have to be more careful and more deliberate about long-term commitments. We're already dealing with rising costs, aging infrastructure, and less wiggle room in the budget than people might assume. And then there's what's happening at the state level. There's active discussion about eliminating or significantly reducing property taxes. I don't know how that plays out. Nobody does. But if it happens, cities like Key West would feel it immediately because property taxes are a major part of how we operate. So when you look at longer contract terms, higher severance, and a fully wrapped compensation package at this level at a time when revenue is already a concern, it's reasonable to slow down and ask whether locking this in right now is the right move. Long-term commitments hit differently when money is about to get really, really tight. And when you step back and look at all of it together, it's fair to ask, is this about stability, which is the way that they're framing it, or is this about insulation? I'm not here to stir anything up. I'm here to read the fine print and talk it through out loud. And if you value that, if you want leadership that slows down, asks hard questions, and treats public money with real care, I'd really appreciate your support. This is a grassroots campaign, and every contribution helps me keep doing this work the right way. You can donate at ComptonForCommissioner.com.